Happy Friday. Take a seat, grab your tea, because it's piping hot today. We're going to be talking about the random man in Atlanta. And if you don't know this story, we're going to get into it. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, welcome in. Happy Friday. Hope you've had a fantastic week and that you're going to have an even more fantastic weekend. Drop your weekend plans in the chat down below. We got Taylor in Nashville.
Hey, happy Friday.
And we got Spencer in the producer's bay.
What's up?
Today, we're going to be talking about the random man in Atlanta. I've been talking about this all week because it's just been going viral and the story has been going crazy. Not just on TikTok, not just on Twitter, but on all platforms. People are talking about this random man in Atlanta. Taylor didn't know what I was talking about. Spencer didn't know what I was talking about. But we're going to get into it, right? And I'll give you a little bit of background on this story. The story starts with a young woman and her name is Morgan Bailey. Morgan Bailey hopped on TikTok to tell a story about how she was left by her baby daddy a month after giving birth to her child. Okay, so let that sink in. She's 23 right now at this moment. The TikTok goes massively viral, her telling this story of what happened to her. Now, I'm gonna let her tell this story to you and let you come to some conclusions. And as always, there's going to be more information. There's a rabbit hole to go down. I'm gonna give a language warning just in case. I don't know what's exactly gonna be in all of these videos, but here's her telling a small synopsis of what happened between her and this random man in Atlanta who left her.
This comment kills me. Girl, they eating you up on Twitter. No, they're not eating me up. You can't eat me up. I literally cannot be eaten. Like, the only thing that ate me up is when I was 30 days postpartum from a C-section. I got cut in half on a table and almost died. And got left 30 days after I gave birth to this little child right here. So no, you can't eat me up. I've already literally been eaten. You guys don't understand. I think you guys are like missing the part where like, I'm the one who takes care of my child full time. Literally went from not having a dollar in my bank account, not having any friends, not having anything. I didn't have a job. I literally had nothing when I gave birth, okay? I lost everything. Got sick, lost 40 pounds, okay? Like, I was scared. I was terrified. I'm just on TikTok making fun of my life, chilling, because what am I supposed to do? Cry about it? No.
Okay, so you got a little bit of background there. Now, she starts posting stories about this man who, led her down this path and ended up getting her pregnant and then leaving her. And she refers to him as hashtag random man in Atlanta. Now, come to find out through, Morgan's investigation and sharing on the internet, this random man in Atlanta has not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, 7 baby mamas. She is the 7th baby mama. He has 7 children and is essentially seemingly a deadbeat in every single sense of the word. Now, of course, her story went viral. People wanted to hear more about how this happened to her, who he was. Nobody knew exactly who the random man in Atlanta was. And instead of this man staying quiet, laying low, not getting on the internet, and maybe, letting his identity out to the world, he decided, I'm going to respond with a TikTok. My 7 baby mama having ass is going to respond on TikTok. Here's part of his response.
Being in her parents' house, I wasn't comfortable with it. Doing that, we just came from our own shit, so that was hard to endure, which I was willing to be humble to, make it to the next step.
Very humble.
Morgan has a bad temper, and I have one as well. So we just started clashing, when she was going through her postpartum. I'm working all these hours. It was kind of bothering me to, deal with the negative energy every day.
It's the giant cross tattoo on the neck for me. I just have to. He's really leading by example there.
and I would come home, get with my kid.
Be fruitful and multiply. I had to make the joke.
Even though it was for a month, but scratched a month, I was with Morgan years, 2 years. Think about my other kids that, you know, lost out because I was so invested into her. And I'm not like her. I don't need no pity party. I was very upset she took it to social media because that's why I'm trying to get you guys to understand the game she's playing, you know. Morgan's TikTok or anything else wasn't popping before then. You guys wasn't even stunning. But now that she tells you about our life, my life, preferably is really my life, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's so in tune. With the world, we have to understand that this world needs more love. And yeah,
I think he's giving a little bit too much love. I think he actually needs to slow down on that whole philosophy, rein it in, back it up like a Tonka truck, and wait a little bit on giving the world more love, okay? And it's so interesting that he says he does not need a pity party, right? But sir, you are not the one raising the children. You are just going around doing whatever you want to whoever you want, creating a bunch of kids, and then being the little deadbeat who runs away. And then in his videos, he goes, you know, I'm dedicated. I call my kids every day. I talk to my kids every day. How? Do you send them a Google Meet? I'm pretty sure he has to pay to make the meeting large enough for all his kids to show up. My gosh, he's a modern day Nick Cannon, but with no money, which is even worse. Not even Nick Cannon, he's an Elon Musk. He's both of them, but with no money. And of course, this video goes viral, right? Everybody finally found out who the random man in Atlanta is, and they are dogging on him. They all have something to say. They're calling him a deadbeat. They're saying that, you know, he needs to take accountability for his actions, and most of all, he needs to stop having children, which I agree with. Honestly, this might be a hot take, but he needs to be sterilized. He needs to get on that. He's on his phone call stuff. He needs to be on his vasectomy stuff because this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Now, the internet goes wild. There's much back and forth. Morgan responds to the random man in Atlanta. And I know what you're thinking, guys. Why are you talking about this? You know, this is a massive trend. Every video that this girl posts gets millions upon millions of views. Everybody has something to say when it comes to the dynamic between this man, this woman, how he's going out here in the world. And we're going to have a conversation about who's responsible for the situation that has taken place here. Because the overwhelming consensus is that this man is wholeheartedly the problem when it comes to this issue. I have a little bit of a different take, but let's allow Morgan to respond to the random man in Atlanta.
Good morning, y'all. I have time today, so there's nothing that I hate worse than a liar, so let me shut this down real fast. I have like 3 things to comment on about the video that he posted of me today. First off, yeah, I am a bitter baby mom. Anybody would be a bitter baby mom if you literally just had a C-section 30 days ago and you moved up to Michigan because that's what your boyfriend wanted to do, and then he leaves you with a C-section and his baby to take care of, and then moves in with his ex-girlfriend on your birthday, which is also Valentine's Day, but yeah, sends you a bouquet of flowers as if that's going to make everything better. Second, he proceeds to call me just a 23-year-old little girl. I told you guys he's always tried to little girl me. One thing he wasn't little girling me about was when I was paying the bills, I put a roof over his head because he didn't have enough credit to do so. I wasn't just a 23-year-old girl when I was cooking for him, cleaning for him, doing his laundry, literally doing everything. Wasn't a 23-year-old girl when he was riding around in my 2021 truck in 2021 because he couldn't afford to keep his car payment on, and they were turning off his car payment every single day after his payment was due. Also wasn't calling me a 23-year-old girl when I was paying his payment so that he could ride around the city. He then goes on to say that it's just so hard to raise a kid with all these baby mamas who are just so bitter. I literally have never stopped you from seeing your daughter. That's the funny part about it. You can come back to Michigan and see her anytime. I'm not catching a flight and taking her 12 hours down the road alone as a 23-year-old little single baby mom. I don't think you understand how hard that would be. And the last thing, no, nobody's bitter that you're with your girlfriend. I would be bitter if I was her because you literally have been talking to this girl and dating on and off for 10 years now, you call it. Yet you've literally had not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 kids on her. And she's known about every single one of them on the way and has stuck by your side. That's a little bit embarrassing. Honestly, I wouldn't want that rep.
Do some of y'all have messy lives like this? Does this exist?
Not that messy.
Not that Yes. This is a whole nother level. And as you can see in this video, she's wearing a shirt that says "From a Random Man in Atlanta." She now is so famous off of this story and off of like this whole relationship that she's making merch that presumably people who also have deadbeat dads can wear that says "From a Random Man in Atlanta." So that's how far this whole thing has gone. Now, she makes many a video telling women how they need to, use contraceptives and, engage safely with other people so that they don't end up in the same situation that she's in. She complains a lot about how hard motherhood is. And of course, she comes after this man, the random man in Atlanta, who she does not name in her videos, but who has decided to name himself. And like I said, the internet is very, very pissed at him, coming after him, which, in many ways is completely rightful. He's clearly got some problems. I do want to find a video, and I'll pull one up eventually, where you can see people responding with said anger towards this random man in Atlanta. But I need to point out something, and maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. How did she allow this to happen to her? Who made the decision as to whether or not they were going to engage with this man and do something that leads to pregnancy? She did. And it seems like nobody on the internet is trying to say, maybe you need to take some accountability for the man that you chose, albeit he's a horrible, terrible, should be sterilized man. That's fine. But did you not see the signs that maybe he was a horrible, terrible, should be sterilized man? Now she claims she did not know that this man had other children and other baby mamas. We'll go ahead and assume that that is the case, that he's just been really good at hiding the fact that 6 different women would be calling him on any given day to, get his attention toward their children. Let's assume she did not know that. She posted a video, which has now since been deleted on TikTok, talking about her history with this guy, how they met, what sort of dates they went on, how it led to them having a child together. And she herself said she met this guy, wasn't super attracted to him, didn't like him, thought he was a little weird, in fact, was a little scared of him. But he was persistent, kept showing up, they would continue talking to each other, and then she decided, sure, let's go ahead, let's go on a date. Let's ask ourselves, where did this young man take her out on a date? She says he would take her to the hood with him to hang out, and that he would go around and sell drugs around her while they were dating. But that video's been deleted, right? Because we don't want that information out there. We don't want the internet to know that you knew that this guy was a low-life, deadbeat drug dealer. Because if they knew that, then maybe you'd have to take accountability for the fact that you decided to have a child with him. And when she's talking about, I paid for our rent while we lived together. I let you drive my car. I took care of this, that, and da-da-da for you. Wouldn't that all have been red flags? Aren't those all red flags on the field? Shouldn't you have been able to recognize that and go, you know what? Maybe at my young age of 21, 22, I should not have a child with this man. But no, nobody's going to say that. It's all about him taking accountability, which of course there's room for. Nothing her. Nothing is the woman's fault. It's always something that is like foisted upon her. It's not a decision that she made on her own. She wasn't reckless and making poor decisions and careless when it came to bringing a child into the world. It's all on the man. Make it make sense. Please. Taylor.
Yeah, I feel like I'm watching Tiger King or something. Like it's this ridiculous situation that's just completely unbelievable, featuring a cast of characters of which no one is someone you can root for, someone who's a good guy. You've got this deadbeat guy who somehow has mad game, or as the kids say, riz these days, who's able to hook up with 6 different women and is still hooking up with them and going to, we'll get into more of it, but going to certain wedding showers on the same day while he's saying he's with his family and with one woman while the other woman's waiting for him at home, and just really insane levels of being all over the place with that. And then on the other hand, you have this woman who's like getting famous by complaining about it on the internet, but taking zero accountability for her role in being raised by this guy or agreeing to sleep with him and taking, and just there's like so many dynamics to it. The manhood, womanhood, dating, sex, antinatalism comes into the fray a little bit down the road. there's however many layers there are to this onion to peel apart. It's pretty ridiculous, and it's kind of like a train wreck. You kind of can't look away, but you also don't want to watch. So I don't know.
Right, and all the while they're posting this on the internet, and guess who's going to find all this later on in life? The children, the 7 children.
I think that every time there's like, I guess the Maury show's over now, but the Maury show is like the best case in point. It's like they run off stage and like, thank God it's not my child.
Right.
This kid's gonna see this and like how he doesn't help out or how she's doing, it's a whole thing.
100%, yeah. And then she's taking on this role of like complaining about motherhood day in and day out because it's so hard and it's a decision that she never should have made. And she's telling all these young women, make sure you do this and that so you don't end up in the same situation as me. And that's like all fine and dandy if you feel that way personally and you want to tell other young women to like take precautions when it comes to what they're doing because yeah, you don't want to be in an unplanned situation and in a situation that's not going to bring like health and wellness to you and your child. But is that the way you put out the message? And is that something that you want your future daughter to be watching you on the internet saying about her as she's a baby? Probably not. Does your future daughter want to see a bunch of people walking around with "From a Random Man in Atlanta" t-shirts that are a direct reference to how she was born from some deadbeat dad that you slept with because he took you out drug dealing in the hood? Oh, it's crazy that we even have to ask these questions.
And it's funny, Spencer, you brought up Maury or whatever, because like at least with the Maurys and the Jerry Springers, it was these producers who look for this ridiculous stuff and people's ridiculous stories and to put them out on the internet. But now we've got people just airing their own dirty laundry online and getting famous off of it, which that's the like weird question here is it better that people are profiting directly out of their own drama in their lives and out of their own messiness in their lives? Or is that better than being exploited by producers of Maury or Jerry Springer or something being put on TV? But either way, why is there this massive market for watching people's horrible drama unfold in their lives? And anyway, it's just such a mind bleep.
Yeah, I mean, people always like to hear about crazy things that are happening in other people's lives. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's always stories where I'm like, oh my gosh. And maybe it makes you like thankful that you're not in that situation, but also I think it's like a place for cultural analysis that this is something that is happening all over the place now because people are choosing to make these decisions. And there's a way to sort of go about this conversation that is, a warning to other people, some red flags that you might want to look out for, a way to actually reference like what it's like to be a new parent and how it is difficult without the sort of way that it's being packaged here. I saw somebody commented on YouTube, should she lie to her daughter? No, your daughter's going to naturally figure out the things that are happening in your life, what your father's like, but it's a totally different thing to have literal merchandise sold about how your father is a deadbeat that's being like, posted out on the internet, complaining about how hard it is to raise her on the internet. These are totally different dynamics. There used to be a time where, yeah, people would acknowledge that parenting is hard or whatever, but they wouldn't make a whole career out of complaining about it whilst showing their daughter in videos for her to grow up and watch later. It's kind of, it's ratchet. It's ratchet. Here is one internet response to Random Man in Atlanta, and you might recognize him. It's Christian Walker.
In tune with what we have going on, it must mean you ain't got shit to do with your life, right? But a lot of you people in America, you try to point the bad finger at somebody but don't know all the...
You might have seen this story on TikTok, but this man left the child of his mother 30 days after she had a C-section. She's raising his child alone, and he also has 6 other kids he's not raising, as you can tell, because he's making TikToks instead of providing for them. This is what blows my mind about fathers who stick their you-know-what in whoever and then create kids that they have no intentions of raising. They still think we're supposed to respect them. They think we're supposed to look at them like men. The mother of this man-child's child never disclosed his identity while she made fun videos. She referred to him as Random Man in Atlanta, but he was so hungry for clout and attention that he had to come on TikTok and start responding to her. Sir, why aren't you at work making money for your 6 children that you're not raising? While you're making 3-minute long videos, your children are growing up without a father. Where are you? What pisses pisses me off about the modern baby daddy man is he has no money to pay for child support. He has no time to spend raising his kids, but he can be on TikTok. He can be out at the club. He can be smoking with his homeboys. He can be doing everything in the world except for being a father. I don't want to hear another word about modern women until this modern man issue is addressed.
Okay, so I'm not invested enough to get this angry about the situation, but I would like to offer a calm rebuttal to that, and I agree with much of what Christian Walker just said. He needs to take personal accountability. Men like this are disgusting, and we should do whatever it is that we can to make sure that they are not out and being able to create horrible situations like this. We've talked many a time on this show about what it's like to be a fatherless child, how the outcomes of these children get worse and worse as time goes on. And it's one of the worst things that you could probably do as a human being is to go and create a child that you are not going to care for. And that's exactly what this man has done. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, seven times. So he deserves a lot. But also, who made the choice to be with the man? Who stuck around for all the drug deals in the hood and decided, yeah, like, you know what, let's go ahead and put ourselves in the situation to have a kid? There needs to be accountability placed on mothers as well who choose to make these decisions. And I'm not one to believe I just didn't know. I thought he was the best man ever and that he had no other children and that everything was fine and that he was actually just selling plush toys, not cocaine. Oh, that's what I thought was going on. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So if you see all this stuff and then this happens to you because you make the reckless decision to have a child, and then you go and capitalize on the fact that you made the decision to have this child, even though you knew the circumstances of his situation, I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad like everybody else on the internet feels bad for this young woman and is saying, she needs justice and all this stuff. And then I imagine there's going to be a whole battle back and forth, and there probably is, with all these baby mamas for child support and all this stuff. You choose a man who is this disgusting, who is actively committing crimes in his daily life, who clearly does not care about you, and then you put your arms up in the air and you say, I'm shocked that he doesn't want to pay child support. I'm shocked that he doesn't want to live with me and the child. I'm shocked that he has 6 other baby mamas. BFFR. We need better discernment, guys, because you can say maybe you didn't learn to pick up these red flags, but when they're right in front of your face and you're literally going out on drug deals with the person that you're dating, you probably know it's not the best decision to be in. It's not the best position. It's just really not. You probably know.
Yeah, someone in the chat just said, but Amla, he tricked her with his deceitful ways. But yeah, to your point, like if you're going on drug deals with a guy, that's not really deceitfulness.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm fully willing to posit that he somehow hid 6 other children from her. She did mention that, I guess, on a day that he said he was going out to meet with his family and like have a day with his family, that he was actually going to a baby shower for another child while she was pregnant. He was going to a baby shower for another woman who he had gotten pregnant, his child, while the other girl is pregnant. Now, I'm one to say there are plenty of people who can hide a lot of stuff. There's people who are real good at manipulating, real good at hiding things under the rug. But 6 other children? And you mean to tell me there was no signs that was the case? No signs aside from the fact that he's out drug dealing with you on some of your first dates? If a man's first date with you is to take you out on a drug deal, I'm going to warn you that maybe you shouldn't get in a long-term relationship with him. Not even a short-term relationship. Maybe you get out of that situation immediately. Just as quick as you can. Now, in true Maury Jerry Springer fashion, all the other baby mamas are coming out of the woodworks because Morgan Bailey is getting, famous off of this, and they're coming forward and saying, I'm the other baby mama. I just want to validate what she's saying. Here's my experience. Here's a video from another one of them.
So that random man in Atlanta is my baby daddy too. So I'm baby mama number 2, and I'm here to say that everything Morgan's saying is true. and just how she was pregnant with their daughter and he had someone else pregnant. Similar situation with me. So my son has a brother that's 8 days older than him.
8 days.
And yeah, he doesn't call. He hasn't called. He doesn't help with anything. He never has, probably never will. And yeah, everything Morgan's saying is true. And I'm glad that someone's airing this shit out, because he's...
So there's baby mama number 2 out of 7. You know what? If there's anybody who I feel bad for in this situation, it's these children. All 7 of these children. They're the ones who deserve like our empathy, sympathy, whatever it is you want to call it. And they're the ones in the most vulnerable of positions here. I'm gonna just flat out say I do not feel bad for somebody who makes a bad decision like this, knowing that the flags are all there for this not to be a good situation. That's it. You just can't. I just don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean, we could argue that maybe they didn't know, but I feel like they knew. Now, somebody's going to make this point a little bit harsher than I've made it in this video. This is a clip from a radio presenter that this whole story sort of reminded me of. And as soon as I heard all the ramblings about a random man in Atlanta, I had to look up this clip so that you guys can watch it. And again, much harsher than I would make this point, but here it is.
Why don't you ever talk about the men that don't pay child support?
Because it's women like you who spread your legs for guys like that. Why don't you ever talk about the responsibility of women who choose irresponsible males to procreate with and then complain later when they're irresponsible?
No.
The women who have a one-nighter with a bartender or a guy on a motorcycle or a musician, and then you complain later on the guy's a deadbeat. He was a deadbeat to begin with.
Why nobody can ever talk to you because you don't let anybody...
People talk to me all day long. You can't talk to me.
No, I'm trying to talk to you and you're talking over.
Dear, don't tell me how to do a radio show. I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't need your help.
Oh, okay. Let me. Can I please just say this? I was married once before, okay? Mm-hmm. My husband and I had a child together.
Right.
After I was tired of him beating me for 2 years, I left him.
Really? But why did you tolerate it for 2 years? Can you tell me why you tolerated being beaten for 2 years? I'd like to hear about this.
My answer to that is because I was young and stupid.
Okay, I agree with you.
There you go.
You were stupid. No doubt about it. And now what are you going to complain that he doesn't pay child support? A guy who beat you for 2 years? Imagine that. The guy is irresponsible.
Right.
He beat me for 2 years, and now that deadbeat doesn't pay.
I'm sorry, guys. Tell me where he lied. Tell me where he lied. Now I understand there's situations, and specifically when it comes to like things like domestic violence and abuse, there are some situations that people are in, both male and female, where they feel so unsafe that they don't, feel that they can get out of the situation. Now I will leave space for people who are in problems like that and in relationships like that. But by and large, especially when we're talking about this random man in Atlanta kind of deadbeat 7 baby mama having man, there are so many different avenues for you to not be in a relationship with these types of guys. And the first avenue is just not doing it. Just saying no. Going out on the first date, realizing he's a drug dealer and going, you know what? I don't want to date that. And I sure as hell don't want to have a baby with that man. So the amount of, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are on the internet right now, saying it's all his fault and this poor girl and all this stuff. Where? I don't see it because I see the signs and she sees the signs too. Because remember, that video that she posted saying he took me to the hood on our dates and that he was a drug dealer, she deleted it. And why would she delete that? Because maybe it implicates her in the current state of her life and situation. And maybe it would have forced her to take accountability had that video gotten any more views than it had when she deleted it. That's it. That's it, guys. That's how I feel about the random man in Atlanta. Now we're going to move on to some other stories here before we get into super chats. And I'm curious to see how you guys feel in the chat. Let's see. You said, who's more at fault in this situation? 66% of you said that they are equally at fault. 20% said the random man in Atlanta. And 15% said the woman. I think I'm with the 66%. They are equally at fault here, and they are going to have to share the pie on that one. Now, it's unfortunate that, a child's been brought into this situation 7 times. 7 times. And I'm sure there's going to get updates to this story. There's going to be more women coming forward and saying, I had a child with a random man in Atlanta. How did he manage to bag 7 women? What sort of tomfoolery masquerade did he pull that he's able to get 7 different women?
We'll have to wait for the Netflix documentary to find out about that. Right. It feels like one's coming.
Yeah, it's gotta be because the tea is piping hot when it comes to this one. Now, speaking of piping hot tea, this is somebody I didn't expect to see in the news when it comes to the sort of anti-trans movement or like commentary on gender theory, and it is guitarist Carlos Santana. You rarely ever see his name in the news, if at all, and he's come forward and, said that he supports Dave Chappelle. And his exact statement was that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. And he stands by Dave Chappelle, the comedian who made that exact same statement, obviously in a paraphrase sense, during one of his comedy specials that ended up going viral. Trans people and allies to the trans community were very upset at Dave Chappelle for saying these things, for acknowledging that sex is binary. And they tried to cancel Dave Chappelle to no avail, because Dave stood by his statements, continued to do comedy specials, and said, basically, F you. I'm going to continue to say what I think. I'm a comedian. That's what I do. Now, Carlos Santana said, hey, I stand by Dave Chappelle. Man is a man, is a woman, and a woman's a woman. It's as clear cut as that, and it's just that simple. And of course, the community went after him. They said, cancel Carlos Santana. We don't want to hear him play guitar ever again. And Carlos Santana apologizes almost immediately. It's very similar to the Neo situation, where Neo's, I guess, PR team or publicist went and posted an apology immediately on his Twitter. But although it seems like this statement is directly from Carlos Santana, his apology states, I want to honor and respect all persons' ideals and beliefs. So that's cool. He also says, I'm sorry for my insensitive comments. They don't reflect that I want to honor and respect all persons' ideals and beliefs. I realize what I said hurt people, and that was not my intent. I sincerely apologize to the transgender community and everyone I offended. Now, as of 2 hours ago, it's been updated that Carlos Santana deleted this apology and ended up posting a cryptic poem about, his religion and his beliefs, but didn't really directly state how he felt about the situation. So that's where we're at with the guitarist. It seems like he's on a roller coaster right now, just trying to find out where he actually stands on the issue and what's going to get him out of this scot-free.
It's literally following the Neo script to a T. Neo had said what he said about gender stuff. There's only 2 genders or whatever. That goes viral. His publicist issues an apology. He retracts that apology. Now, posting a poem is a little less, but he did delete it. So, I mean, that's very, very interesting. My parents are huge Santana fans, so they're also on an emotional roller coaster with this last 24 hours for him.
You know what? It's so interesting because now you just know how he truly feels. Like, it doesn't matter what he does after this. You know that he truly thinks a man is a man and a woman is a woman and that sex is binary. So he can keep like tap dancing around what he originally said, but we all know what he originally said. So you should just stand by it. Don't make a statement in the first place if you're not ready to stand by the original thing that you said, because it's out there, it's stuck, we know what you think.
And also just think about what he originally said was a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Those are circular statements that are pretty much just self-evidently true. So what kind of thought police Orwellian culture and society are we living in today where that becomes an outrageous statement that is worthy of national news headlines and all kinds of people coming out the woodwork, seething in anger, and where his publicist has to get involved in all this stuff because he said a man is a man and a woman is a woman. Even if you believe that trans men are men or trans women are women, technically what he said did not violate that belief even. So It's literally just the perception that, they know what he's getting at. Obviously the subtext is there, but just the perception that he's intimating that he doesn't agree with transgender ideology is enough to spark national news headlines in outrage. Like Rolling Stone posted about it, and I saw all over the place on social media last night. It's just insane.
Yeah, you just never expect it. I don't know. I wish... one part of me wishes like, oh, celebrities need to be braver, like stand up for yourself, say what you actually think. The other part of me is just like, shut up, stop saying things altogether, because I'm so over like this back and forth of, did he say it, did he not, does he stand by it, does he not? Just choose your lane. And it's either the lane of like, I'm gonna stand by my statement unless my mind changes and I get new information or something like that, or I'm just gonna go about my business and I'm going to play Maria, and I'm never going to preach the subject of transgenderism, because that's not what people come to my concerts for in the first place. Sometimes when I learn too much about celebrities, it ruins the art and what they do creatively for me to where I can't do it anymore. Like now that Ariana Grande has slept with SpongeBob on Broadway, every time I listen to her music, I'm just like, ugh. Homewrecker, gross, I can't skip. And then it's like Leonardo DiCaprio and his whole personal life, all the just weird stuff he does. Every time I see his movies, I can't, suspend my disbelief enough to buy into what I'm hearing anymore. So it just sucks. And now if you listen to Carlos Santana, you're just gonna be like, remember that time where he said that thing and then he apologized and then he took back the apology, or he didn't take back the apology, and who knows? It just messes with my mental, and I'm over it. So just like, say how you feel, stand by it, or just don't do it anymore. I used to be a huge fan of Paramore, and then Hayley Williams went to her concert and was like, if you like Ron DeSantis, you're dead to me. Just like, girl, chill, this is a Wendy's, please. I love like Misery Business, and I love Ain't It Fun, and like I love all your albums, but I don't. Now I can't listen to it anymore because it's just tainted by your own personal political opinion, and that sucks. So, yeah. Yeah,
you can't unlearn these things about celebrities once they've put them out there, and yeah, you can either choose to consciously ignore, and I'm still going to listen to the music, or it kind of ruins it for you. So I don't know. But it is, it is something that the celebrities have to be conscious about, but going into it, and if it's important enough to you. If in Santana's case, it's like, hey, if the stakes are reality and you feel like it's worth sacrificing a big contingency of your fans in order to make the statement that you're going to make, then okay, so be it. But part of me does kind of pine for the days where we just didn't know anything about anybody's politics, and whether they're an actor or musician or whatever, and you could just kind of enjoy art for its own sake. But even the activism seeping its way into the art itself now, so that's another conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And for all this to be on the basis of like gender and something that we claim to have completely figured out when we know we don't have it completely figured out, it's just insane to me. Carlos Santana saying a man is a man and a woman is a woman is the most normal thing to be saying on the subject. That's literally the most normal thing you could possibly say. But that is not the approved narrative, and he therefore needs to be canceled for making the most normal of acknowledgments when it comes to this issue. Lastly, here's this video, and I posted this on Twitter and said this was my most uncomfy watch of the week on the topic of transgenderism. Here is a mother who has placed their kid, it seems, on testosterone. So this is a young woman who is now taking T, and there's a video that they wanted to post on the internet, so I guess talk about how wonderful it is that her daughter is on T. Let's watch.
Hola. He's excited to be here. Marshall, do you want to do a week 4 on testosterone, boys?
She looks so excited. That is the picture of trans joy to me. So excited to be there and talk about how wonderful, week 4 of testosterone is.
Week 4, the same.
How are you feeling?
The same.
Any effects? Anything changing?
Not really. Yeah.
Any high points? Any good things?
Not really.
Any bad points?
Not really.
Are we struggle busing a little bit with the injection?
What are you doing putting your kids' business out on the internet anyways, when they clearly like do not want to be doing this and documenting this? If you are subscribing yourself to like gender theory and gender ideology, then this would be the most turbulent time in this young woman's life. One of the hardest times in this young woman's life, being in a transitional period from being born a biological female to transitioning to be essentially what she might want to be, which is a man. Why then would you be filming them going through this entire process to post on the internet? And what for? What for? Like, who are you posting this for? With like this, what are the good things? And, you know, what are the bad things? When clearly she's not comfortable like answering or talking about any of that. And if she's not comfortable, you can argue like there's like teenage angst involved, right? There's also the camera there, which is maybe why the conversation is not as comfortable as it should be. But if you don't have answers to these questions, why are you injecting somebody with testosterone? If they cannot distinctly answer, like, what are the good things? What are the bad things? What are we struggling with? How are we feeling? Why is it that you are continuously giving them hormone therapy?
So, like, it's the anxiety of doing it. Yeah. A little bit of a struggle bus. Don't want to talk about it. But you start school next week?
Yeah.
High school with testosterone, so you're gonna be like on equal playing field with all the other like pubescent boys.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah.
I have to point out also, and I have to ask the question, why is it in almost every single scenario that I see a kid who's like transitioning socially or on hormone therapy and is doing this like actively on social media or in front of the world, that it's the mother who's pushing this forward? Mm-hmm. Why is it? You very rarely see dads making this choice for their sons and daughters and then posting it on social media and like making a video about it, or like putting their sons in tutus and pink nail polish and long hair. Why is it always a mother? Please. Like, outside of Dwayne Wade, even though you actively see like Gabrielle Union, who is clearly pushing a lot of this ideology on his child that is not even her child, why is it almost always the mother? Somebody please tell me that.
Someone under this tweet linked to a stat that said 53% of mothers of children with reported gender dysphoria meet the criteria for borderline personality disorder. And you also get the, you know, a lot of people talk about Munchausen's by proxy and that whole effect. It's interesting. Just the other day, my wife has been putting on the Kardashian show. It's Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like the old school ones, kind of in the background during the day or whatever. And there was this episode on where Kris Jenner was considering changing her name back to Kardashian because that name had become such a brand and she was getting so much clout off of that she was willing to like, or considering changing the name of her husband of 20 years at the time back to her deceased ex-husband whom she had left several, that long ago, just to get the clout back. And it's just, and just like the way she was managing, it was just like, you're getting the clout off of this situation. You're totally drunk on the fame and everything else that's coming out of this, the attention, that you're willing to just do absurd things. And I can't help but see similar energy with this mom, with her child, she's clearly does not seem to want to be on camera, the child behind her, and yet is putting her through this really just painfully awkward and cringeworthy sequence of questions, and seemingly like even in her life is sort of being pushed into school, pushed into this lifestyle by the mom. And it's not really about the kid or the kid's best interest. It's about the mom's clout. And it's just really disheartening and gross to watch.
Yeah, dude, I'd bet like $10,000 she's posting this on like trans kids Facebook groups so that she can be told, oh my God, you're doing so good, mama. You know, he doesn't know like how well you're doing yet, but he's going to come around to it once everything's all said and done. You're doing so good. You're doing the right thing. It's like, for if you're a mother these days and you want to like fast track being patted on the back and told that you're a good mom, instead of just like actively being a good mom, just convince your kid to transition. So you can post it in some Facebook group and people will just give you praise that you did not earn for transitioning your child. It's essentially what seems to be happening here.
Things to look forward to with that? No. What's the one thing you are really looking forward to with your testosterone? Like the impacts?
Voice change and facial hair.
You want a studly beard like your dad? Yeah. You're gonna be so much hotter than him.
I think...
What? Do you want a studly beard like your dad? You're gonna be so much hotter than him? What?
I'm gonna keep it like shorter, so not quite as
Cute, stubbly, like a...
not quite that short. Not like here.
Yeah.
Clean.
Clean. I dig it. It's a hot look. Yeah.
It's gonna be really hot.
You are gonna be really hot. It's really exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. Very, very exciting to completely try to alter your biology to be something that you were not born as. It's kind of crazy, y'all. And I have to say it again. Why is it always mothers doing this stuff? Wild. I would love the father was in this video to like talk about where he's at with this whole situation. And there's a reason like states like California are creating custody laws surrounding this, where if your kid wants to transition and you don't support it as a parent, they can just be ripped away from you, have all of your custody taken away from you. And if you look into the battles surrounding, you know, custody of transgender children, we'll put that in like air quotes, it's almost always dads fighting mothers. Almost always dads sitting on the sidelines trying to say, no, do not do this to my kid, and mothers pushing it forward. And, you know, I can't help but think in some instances where, I think we talked about this on the show today, are like happily married individuals typically the ones who are transitioning their children. I don't know the stats on that, but I have a feeling it's not that. And for like women who are doing it to their sons and stuff, I can't help but think you're just like, I want to get back at dad, so I'm going to transition his kid. And he gets to deal with that, or we'll take custody away from him if he doesn't want it. And there's something else psychologically that is going down underneath the surface, and your kid is just becoming the punching bag for how you feel personally and what your own personal drives are, whether it's being patted on the back to feel like you're a good mom and fast track that whole process, whether it's, you know, wanting your kid to be something that they're not, whether it's trying to get back at dad for something that he did in the relationship or in the marriage. I think there's many different things that could be at play here, but none of it's good.
Yeah, and speaking of the psychological aspects of this, as you're talking, I was reminded of Jordan Peterson talked about the like devouring mother archetype, and I did a quick Google to remind myself, but it says they are the narcissistic parent who dominates and consumes their child psychologically. This mother archetype tends to love selfishly, not selflessly. Although this is done with the intention of protecting them from the ills and evils of the world, it often results in her children feeling suffocated or constrained. And I think it's interesting. We live in, you know, sort of the post tyrannical father archetype is the other side of the coin that we've seen with like the fascist societies of the 20th century and those going out of hand, and sort of the Mad Men, you know, patriarchy sort of culture. We've reacted so heavily to that now we're on the flip side and seeing more of the tyrannical mother archetype sort of dominating the culture and our, you know, thought in society today, where women, the feminine, hyper feminine, there is no excess to it. And that's where you get into this like overly sort of selfish, domineering motherliness that is really just as ugly as what we as the tyrannical father stuff that we have thought we had come out of. And we're just, as always, kind of swinging back and forth between the extremes. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that I'd heard before, and this reminded me of it.
Yeah, tyrannical mother, neutered dad is the new combo here that we seem to be dealing with on a large scale. And with that, we're going to get into Super Chats.
We
Always
gotta
a clean
start ending on
segue.
like happier stories. I know.
Yeah, we need some good news to end out.
Just made me
It's
a little
fine.
sad.
Okay, well let's pick it up with a positive comment here from Kira Fontana. She says this show is the best way to unwind after a long work week. Sending all the love from Sutton in South London.
I'm glad. Did y'all have fun talking about baby mama drama today?
I don't know if fun's the right word, but
It's certainly interesting. I feel like we haven't had a baby mama talk since Nick Cannon and his, I don't even know, nine children now. Oh,
we had that other
gosh.
video of the guy who talked about I got 7 kids and 7 baby mamas and was proud of it.
That's true.
So there's that too.
There's more. Where there's one, there's more.
But speaking of London, we found this out recently that the number one city in the world that watches Unapologetic on YouTube is London. So
Yeah.
bigger audience than any individual city, even American cities.
So what's up to all my Londoners? Thank you guys for the support. Love your city.
Cheerio.
God, it's like 10 p.m. there now too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You guys are sticking it out.
We noticed an uptick in the European audience when we moved the time up a couple hours. So we're glad y'all can participate.
Yeah, hang out with us.
Alfredo Ortiz, he's an OG, is back, says, Amal and Taylor, I'm back. I work night shift, so I can't catch y'all live anymore except on Friday. Glad to be here with y'all.
Good to have you, Alfredo. We're glad you're back, at least for Fridays.
Yeah, we're glad to see you, man. Sup, my dude says, do people have no concept of contraception? There seem to be so many ways of preventing pregnancy, and yet we see stories like these. Truly boggles the mind.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Something to think about before you do anything with anybody, let alone a drug dealer. Gosh, can't get over it. Can't get over it.
Starry Sky says, thank you, Amla and Taylor, for what you both do. Thank you, Starry.
Thank you.
Genevieve Steyer says, you guys seriously helped red pill me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's such a weird word now because it's like there's so many different kinds of red pills. But
Yeah.
whatever influence you're getting from this show is not the kind that we don't like. So
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
glad that you're red pilled.
Exactly.
But yeah, maybe be careful with how we're using that,
We'll
that
take
term. Alex Slusher says, I apologize, but I don't really watch your videos much, but I want to help
it's okay.
support based content creators. Keep up the good work and have a great weekend.
Thank you. That's awesome that you're trying to help us out and you don't even watch that much. I appreciate it. That's cool.
Daniel Santana, hey, I wonder how he feels about his namesake.
Is this your uncle? It's your uncle's wildin'.
He says, hello, love the show, never miss it.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
There's
it.
like periods after both of those.
Love
so
it.
I tried to mimic it. Never miss it. It's like, David Williams says, random man in Atlanta shouldn't be news. People forget 3 Tennessee men fathered 78 children with 46 different women paying little child support.
They must be stopped. You must be dealt with. There must be
3
something
men,
to happen. They should be
76 children.
That should not be
you say
allowed.
46 baby mama? What?
46 baby mamas to 3 men.
Sterilization, guys. Sterilization.
78 children.
If I am ever to become dictator of the world, sterilization shall be forced upon these men.
That sounds like an X-Files episode or something.
Gosh, that's horrific. I've heard that there's like a psychological disorder that you can have as a man that like makes you want to get as many women like pregnant as possible and actually like act on it in large scale. So I wonder if those 3
about,
men.
like, finances right there, or like time with the children.
Oh,
Then,
well,
but I guess
they're
you
not-
don't care.
They ain't paying nothing. The child support system is scared of them. They're not going to ever be found. Oh my gosh, that's terrifying. Oh, 46 is huge.
It is. Alex says, hey there, gang. Yes, Amala, more women need to be told the truth, like that radio host was saying. We don't tell women the truth, and most women are delusional because of it. I know because I date women.
Well, yeah, it's like, I know because I am a woman. There's been many a tricky man running around. Remember when we reacted to that one episode where it was like, are men gonna choose women based on their like personality or based on their looks? And Horatio was on there, the F-boy, right? And he was a suave one, right? He could be one of those men that has, you know, the secret 7 baby mamas or whatever, and you'd never know. But you have to hone in on your radar for these horrific guys because you just never know when one is going to set his sights on you.
Yeah, like, and men deserve their share of, clapback for all of and criticism for all the stupid things that they do.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you're like a beautiful woman, like crappy men are going to pursue you. They just are. And so you have to learn to have high standards and not, and to be able to recognize a shark when there is one that's coming after you. So Mason Pyle says Trump getting arrested isn't good for the DNC because it just made Trump 1,000 times more popular.
It's so interesting. I haven't really looked into much of the news. Obviously, the mugshot is everywhere, and everybody's saying like this is the one mugshot that is loved by the left and the right. And I've seen like leftists saying I'm making this mugshot my screen protector or my screensaver, and right-leaning people saying the same or whatever. I'm gonna let the situation play out and see what happens, but. Everything, it's going to continue. The cycle continues. We'll see.
We should have made the thumbnail today, like took the Photoshop him out and put you in on the same mugshot background. That'd have been funny. A lot of clicks, probs.
Yeah.
Let's see. Miranda Gomez says, I remember when one of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's daughters wanted to dress like a boy. They didn't make a big deal about it, and now she dresses more feminine, just like kids be kids.
Yeah, well, don't they have another host of kids who also dress up kind of strange? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know that they're like the most model parents when it comes to this stuff, but I think that was Shiloh, and
that was.
Shiloh is totally like super girly now and did have more of a tomboy phase or whatever. So,
which
I
is
guess
cool.
kudos to them for
let
not
your kids
fast tracking her through.
Yeah, let them explore whatever. I'm totally for my kids being able to explore how they like want to present themselves, as long as it's not too extreme or anything like that. And I think it's totally natural for kids to be interested in things that are typically gendered in the opposite direction. Does that then make your kid a different gender? No, it doesn't. And like the whole celebrity things, like the Megan Foxes, the Charlize Therons, the Angelina Jolies, there's some weird stuff going on there. I don't know what it is, but they all got kids running around wearing random, opposite gender stuff and identifying differently. I'm unconvinced.
Yeah.
They literally treat their kids like Tamagotchis.
Yeah, speaking of Tamagotchis, no furriness. That's something you can't explore. That's straight to jail. Let's see. Maggie Catherine says, if I go out with a man and the first thing he wants to do with me is take me on a drug deal, he will never hear from me again. Please have more self-respect.
Oh, yeah, guys.
Is that not just common sense?
Yeah, it is common sense. It is. And Maggie, I commend you for having it, because so many don't. Like, get the hell out of there. And you know what? When you're in your youth, too, it's far easier to be tricked. So I'll give her some, like, room for that. She was 21 when she met this guy, so there's still, like, some naivete and, being swept off your feet by somebody who you know isn't right for you or whatever. But at some point, you gotta grow up.
And it's also like, I get that you're young and naive, but like there's a sense in which you can't really afford to be naive when the stakes are so high and when it's literally like your life and your future on the line. And that to me, it harkens back to like parenting and how she was raised. And like I see my job as a future parent, if I have a daughter, to be like, please do whatever we can to like teach her discernment, wisdom, and like know how to recognize a bad guy, know her worth, and not, settle for someone, and model to her what a healthy relationship looks like and what a healthy attitudes look like. Which I know is like important. Easier said than done. Obviously, it's easier to like armchair it from here, but I don't know. The issue goes further back, I think. This is also for Maggie. She says, it's the fact that the mom knew her kid was uncomfortable with the questions, filmed it anyways, watched it back, and still decided it was okay to post.
Yep. All of this is like, why are you guys posting your children on the internet? They're literally everywhere. Like, stop putting your kids on the internet. You guys know how we talk about that on this show. It's just not a good idea.
I want to know what that conversation was beforehand, before filming. Like,
right.
It seemed like the mom clearly was forcing that kid.
Like, we got to do our weekly check-in on your testosterone. Ay.
Oatmeal says, I love that you have a Studio Ghibli poster in the back. The fun fact, my dad saw Castle in the Sky before it was released in the United States.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun. What an honor that must have been to see that movie before it got out here. Yeah, that's a great one. I love Castle in the Sky. I have a Castle in the Sky tattoo that you guys can't see, but I do have one. So
there you go. The Texable says, I had a good dad, and one thing I learned from him is common sense. I believe that common sense has to be taught because many grown adults don't have that.
Yeah, it's always good to just see that modeled by a man. It does beg the question, like, does this girl have a dad in her life, and are her parents like still together or not? Because when you don't see that, like my background, my dad wasn't in my life after like the age of 6, so you don't have much modeling for how a relationship works, and it makes the path to a healthy relationship just full of potholes that you will fall into and get all bumped up in, and if you fall into the plot hole and you don't get back up, that's what happens. And when you don't have a father to model how women should be treated, how to hold men accountable, what you should expect from a man in your life, then it doesn't work. Like, I'll see a lot of men on the internet who are, dogs. They're not actually trying to, have fruitful relationships. And they'll say the worst woman that you can come across if you're trying to play them is a woman who has a healthy relationship with her father and a father who's on speed dial for whatever she needs. Because she won't put up with BS, she sees through it, and she has another man that she can rely on to be there when she needs something. So if you're not going to match that energy and be exactly what it is that she's had modeled for her entire life, then you're not going to get by. So they won't bother.
Here, here. Tool Mom 3990 just sends a super chat, no message. Thank you.
Thank
Tool
you.
Mom. Fresh Start says, hey, Amala and Taylor, I barely make it to the lives, or rarely make it to the lives, but I always watch your show at work, and it makes work so much more tolerable. You're the best.
Thank you. That's so awesome. Oh, that's so great. I'm always picturing, like, what are you guys doing while you're listening to this show? So it's so cool to hear from you guys about what you get up to when you're listening.
Yeah, post if you're on Instagram, post Instagram stories and tag Amala with if you're watching the show with what you're doing. She'll repost them.
Post me on your laptop or wherever you're at. Some of you said you were like baking bread, gardening, you're like doing construction and stuff. I always love to see it.
Daniel Santana just sends another super chat, no message, but thank you, Daniel.
Appreciate it.
Maria. Just trying to think of a good Santana reference. That's all I got. Deja Nunn says, I'd argue that in order to transition, you have to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria, because someone who is diagnosed with it wouldn't want to be considered transgender because it would defeat the point.
I'm confused. Let's read it again.
I'd argue that in order to transition, you have to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria.
That is true.
Because someone who is diagnosed with it wouldn't want to be considered transgender because it would defeat the point.
I think you're saying, okay, so if you're diagnosed with gender dysphoria, that means that you actually are a woman deep down. Therefore, being called trans makes no sense because you are a woman. You've been a woman. You're not necessarily transitioning. I think that's the logic that's being detailed out there. Yeah.
It's also weird, though, because gender dysphoria is like a diagnosis, like in the name itself. It's saying you have dysphoria about your gender. Your what you actually are is there's a dysphoria. It's out of sync with how you feel. And so the diagnosis itself actually affirms your sex while saying that you are experiencing, an inability to feel comfortable with your sex.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of ways you can slice that one.
Yeah, there is. But I think they're all getting diagnosed with gender dysphoria before going through that process for the most part. The thing is, it's so easy to get that diagnosis now.
Yeah.
We should do a video where I just go to a doctor's office and tell them I feel like a man and see how easy it is to get diagnosed.
You thought about that?
I don't know if that's legal, but
it would be really fast.
It'd be really fast here in LA. Yeah, really fast.
Also, there's people going in malls and, ransacking them. So if you're worried, like with no consequence. So if you're worried about things that are, legal in California, I wouldn't be too concerned.
The thing is, I'd actually probably go to jail for doing that at a gender clinic, and then instead I could go and smash and grab up a store, and that'd be fine. Maybe that should be our next YouTube video. Amala goes to Bloomingdale's and tries to steal as much as she possibly can. We just speed run Bloomingdale's
and then give it away to the super chat.
Yeah, exactly. I'd get away with it.
Or just
$899 for those meddling kids
and do that every week.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently.
Quit my job at that point.
Let's see. A couple more here. Alex again says, Amala, which men do women choose? The Horacio type and then complain when he isn't committed to them. Women, it's your fault when you choose bad men.
It's shared fault, but yes, women will choose the Horatios or the, however you say his name, Horacios of the world, and then complain when they get boo-boo the fooled. When they get clowned they will complain. This is how it happens. Nobody's a stranger to it. But some women make good choices. This is the thing. You just got to hold out for the ones that make the good choices. And, you know, the same goes for men. And meanwhile, you know, Horatio's not going to have any problems finding somebody to clown.
Yeah,
Tragic.
and as a guy who wants to be a good guy, who's going to get a good girl, like, the path before you is still to become the best person you can be. No one wants to be with the guy who's just complaining about the bad women or the F boys and their success, and you know,
play the long game.
Yeah,
make yourself a better man or woman.
Like I say, it just takes one. Just takes one. Alex again says, Alma 21 is still an adult. Don't give these girls a way out by saying she's young and naive.
21.
Make better choices, women, not choices with your feelings.
21 is still an adult, of course. And my whole thing with this whole random men in Atlanta is that she needs to take accountability for her own actions. But there also is an element of, if something is never modeled for you ever, right? What can you do? You know, if you're you grow up and throughout your whole life nobody ever teaches you to read. When you meet them and they're 21, you go, you don't know how to read? It'll be a little weird to, you know, have that reaction. We have to take account of people's experience, what they are exposed to and what they're not. But 21, she's absolutely responsible for getting impregnated by some random bum. That's as close as I'll get to Christian Walker in this episode.
Yeah, I want to see Amala go all out Christian Walker one day.
I need to find a video that like truly enrages me one day and just go like full scorched earth on this podcast. But I feel like that is yet to happen in my over a year of doing this.
Well, the problem is you're so like restrained and reasonable in your takes. Like I remember how outraged you were with the Dylan Mulvaney stuff like very early on.
Yeah.
But you came on here and you're like, look, this isn't a hateful thing. I mean, they still came after you and review bombed us and all that stuff. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know that you get overly emotional in your delivery. That's why people like to watch.
Maybe I need to make up a character, an alter ego.
There you go. Like your own anger translator. Alex has one more. I think this is our last one. Amala, if there were so many good girls out here, why there wouldn't be so many damn dating problems with dating women? I know because I date women.
Well, there are though. there are a lot of them. You just have to find them, and it's not easy. Like it's so many people get married and like get into long-term commitments and all these things before ever realizing like they're ready for it, before ever realizing what sort of person it is who they're with. And I truly think if people just like slow down for a second and truly dialed in on who they are as a person and what they want, they would find something. I know plenty of just like really good women and really good single women who are looking for men, and they have just as much trouble finding really good, you know, single men at the same time. It's really like, as much as so many people are like getting married and in long-term relationships, like it's really like it's kind of like a lottery win in a way that you have to sort of play the long game and put yourself in the right position, and it needs to be the right place in the right time. But also there are tons of really great people out there. With women, it might be a little bit harder with just like the modern narratives and things that are going on. There's this guy on TikTok that I follow called Homath. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy's TikTok. Maybe one day I'll have to do a reaction of his TikTok, but he looks at like dating dynamics on the internet or whatever and does what he calls like Homath on like why people are having problems, like why a woman's mindset is this way, why an alpha male's mindset or whatever might be this way, and he like draws out the math for everybody to see. And there is of course like hypergamy with women, and women always trying to like date up and being a little bit unrealistic, but I truly think like outside of our internet subcultures and stuff like this, out in the real world, there are a ton of really good women just like leading normal lives. And they're probably not the ones you're going to see on like social media and dating apps. Harder to find, but exist.
Here. Amen to that. A couple more. Hannah Daly says, I'm a caregiver. Gives me the ability to catch your lives. Love you, Amala, but I'm here for Taylor's commentary. JK.
Hey, no. Wait, are you or are you not?
Yeah, I don't know how to take that.
This is why we have Taylor, because Taylor makes some very good points. I'm very fidgety, so I'm constantly like messing with stuff underneath here that you guys never see, and sometimes it flies in my face. But this is why we have Taylor on the show, right? Okay, he's got great commentary.
wouldn't say great. It's you guys have no idea how intimidating it is to be on a show with Amala, who's this verbal ninja, and I'm like, so it's fine. But appreciate the love, I think. One more from Alex says, Amala, if you ever come back to Winona State, I'm gonna totally debate you on this because it's a huge problem for men. You should be a dude for a month.
What? Y'all don't want me to be a dude for a month. I'd be out there. Just kidding. No, if I was a dude for a month, let's be honest, I'd have all of y'all beat because I know what women actually want. I could make myself into a Horatio, but I wouldn't do that to y'all. I'd go out and speed run and find my one. I have the added advantage.
How do good dudes find the good girl?
How do good dudes find the good? You just have to do the things that you love doing and that you want your other partner, your better half, to be doing, and like chill. Also chill. Like it's gonna come. If you have like this like anxious energy about like finding somebody, or like a very negative, cynical energy about the state of the world and finding a woman, I truly think that is, I don't want to say like an aura, like some sort of spiritual thing, but it is like an energy that is given off. So if you want a woman who hikes, go out and hike. If you want a woman who reads books, join a book club. Like go to the library and hang out there. Like do the things that are going to make you a better person and make you be more of who you want to be. And the woman who aligns with you will be doing exactly that for herself. I'm not saying it's going to be the easiest thing to do, but as soon as you like let go of the nervous energy of like wanting to find somebody and searching, and it will come. I think like the effort needs to be put into making yourself the person who is attractive to the one that you want. If that makes
100%.
sense.
100%. As a married man, I echo that. I think guys struggle with like figuring out really like who they are and where they're going, and girls don't want to latch themselves onto somebody who's not going somewhere that they can pick up. So you want to take inventory of yourself and dig deep down and say, who am I? Where am I going in life? And have an aim, have a goal. And it's okay to be figuring that out. You don't have to have it all figured out before, you meet someone or whatever, but like you should be moving in some direction and adding value to yourself and pursuing the things that are in your heart and that you love and trying to be the person that you're made to be. And like Amala says, I really do believe that that's as best as you can do. And obviously don't bury your head in the sand, be personable, go out and try to meet people, do things that match with the path that you're on. But yeah, it's like, be yourself, be the best version of yourself that you can, and put yourself out there a little bit while you're doing that. And I think it's bound to happen.
Yeah. So. I think like, obviously, it's going to get harder and harder as the internet gets bigger and bigger and people have more options and there's dating apps and this and that. And that's always something to acknowledge. But I think that's hard for all involved. I think on the flip side, I see a lot of women on the internet. Like I saw a girl crying on TikTok the other day, making a video about how like she is not super engaged on the internet, and she is just like trying to find a good man who like has hobbies and works a normal job and is not like constantly watching pornography and subscribe to OnlyFans models, and that she's like struggling finding a guy who doesn't secretly have a ton of problems. So I think it's like a shared issue with dating, and probably forever will be. I think we can look back at like prior generations who would probably complain about the same thing, but the internet just exacerbates the problem.
So there you go, Alex. That's a long answer, but you got your money's worth. Daniel Santana gives one more super chat, no message. Just feeling really generous today, so thank you, Daniel. And Deja Nunn says, you guys got it right, but it would be so embarrassing for people to know you transitioned, so you wouldn't want to be a part of that quote unquote community.
Wait, what?
I guess if you are transitioned, but you're not passing, or let me read it again. You guys got it right, but it would be embarrassing for people to know you transitioned, so you wouldn't want to be a part of that community.
Oh, like the gender dysphoria community, I think is what they're referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think more so than I don't often see people who are trying to hide their transness. They kind of like wear it as a badge, like the transitional period and everything. I don't know that I've heard of many people. Maybe they're hiding so well that I don't even know.
Yeah, that's a tough. I mean, it's like, do you hide until you're as passing as you can be, or do you just like own it and have the pride or whatever? And I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Is that the last super chat?
Yeah, that's the last super chat.
I always forget when you say this is the last super chat, so then I'm just like
Well,
sitting
I said
here
it
like
3 times because they kept coming in. So
then I'm just sitting here waiting like, oh, what's the next one, Taylor? Anyways, guys, that is our show for today. Hope you enjoyed. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about the random men in Atlanta or Carlos Santana? Nice little rhyme at the end of the show. Let me know how you feel about those two subjects in the comments down below, or the mom who had a very uncomfortable video with her daughter/son about being on testosterone for 4 weeks. As always, I encourage healthy debate in the comments, so duke it out, but do so respectfully. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time we're live. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we post videos for you guys every single day. You guys had so much to say about the Oppenheimer cover your eyes for the sex scene video that I think we're going to post a whole video about that tomorrow, and you guys can keep an eye out for that. Although if you watch the live show, you've already seen that discussion, but leave your comments down below because I want people to engage and get into a debate about that video in particular. If you saw the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll find out tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.